War produces heroes, but inevitably it also brings casualties and deaths. When a member of the British forces pays the ultimate price, the Joint Casualty and Compassionate Centre notifies relatives and makes arrangements to bring their loved ones home. It's a sensitive role, and it isn't limited to families affected by current conflicts. Historian and author Richard Van Emden has been finding out more about their work.
Nearly 1 million British servicemen were killed in World War I. Lost in the chaos of battle, around 400,000 of them were never found. These fallen heroes were classified as missing. Each of their families was left with grief, but with no body to lay to rest.
Even today, the remains of more than 10 servicemen, most of whom fell nearly a century ago, are found on the battlefields of France and Belgium every year.
Whenever the remains of a British soldier are recovered, it's the Jccc, part of the Ministry of Defence, that tries to identify the servicemen and traces surviving relatives. But that's not always straightforward.
It's very difficult because the identity discs that they were issued with during the First World War were very flimsy and didn't really survive very well.
So it couldn't be a long, drawn-out process of identification?
Absolutely. It can take sometimes from the start to the end, maybe a year, 2 years.
In 2009, Sue heard about the remains of 4 soldiers discovered in Bullecourt on the Arras battlefield in France. It was the start of a fascinating detective story. She and her team found buttons near the scene belonging to the Honourable Artillery Company. They also unearthed an identity bracelet belonging to one of the men.
And that said on it John Pritchard, Jccc, Honourable Artillery Company, which is here, which is lovely, if you'd like to have a look at that.
So I can just see his rank there and a little bit of,
his name, and
yes,
then
his name, yes, indeed.
Jccc abbreviated. But of course it's been in the ground for
so
100 years
yes.
that it is a little bit tarnished. But yes.
But readable, that's
Yes.
the critical thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So, who exactly was John Pritchard? The answer was found by combing through the war records at his regimental headquarters. Today, Sue's taking me back there to meet archivist Justine Taylor, who unearthed the official report into his death.
Here we have one for John H. Pritchard, and he died on the 15th of May, 1917. And we know on the 15th of May, his company, C Company, were fighting an action on the front line at the village of Bullecourt. And C Company themselves actually got cut off and were absolutely decimated by the German advance at that time.
Isn't that interesting, though? It says place of burial, not reported, not known.
That's right, that's right.
The regiment's admissions register revealed more about John Pritchard's earlier life. 5 years before the war broke out, he was working as an insurance clerk in the City of London. Looking for a new challenge, he and a number of his colleagues volunteered for the army.
Here, if you go down, you can see he joined on the 1st of March 1909. And if you see people either side of him, you can see these other names. They actually all joined up together on the same day.
So he would have known these individuals because he obviously works with them. They've all gone down together. You can see them as a group going, come on, let's go and enlist.
Yes.
Once war was declared, the Honourable Artillery Company was deployed overseas.
And he's in the number 3 company, the 1st Battalion, and that goes to France on the 18th of September 1914, and it's one of the 2nd territorial regiments to do so.
It must be lovely for you, Sue, to have this man, you know, there he is, just bones, and now we can flesh him out into someone who is alive and human. And
You can see his age, his height, what he did for his occupation, where he lived. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing.
Sue had a full picture of the soldier, but she knew nothing of his descendants. Tracing them in the city the size of London was always going to be difficult. But thanks to an appeal on a history website, John's great-nieces Jenny and Janet both came forward. They only knew he'd been lost in battle. But a century on, and out of the blue, they were about to learn the missing details.
I was shocked, actually, but then for somebody else to be talking about it and for it to appear, I was terribly excited as well. Also because I knew that this would be an amazing moment for the family.
And what did you know about the circumstances of John's death?
It was a mystery until we found out that his remains had been found.
He was definitely very missed within the family. And, you know, occasionally he was talked about, but it was too painful for them to talk about him, really.
When a body is found, even 100 years after death, Sue and her team organise a funeral with full military honours at a Commonwealth War Grave cemetery near to where they fell. So, on April the 23rd last year, John was laid to rest by his own regiment at Bullecourt, along with another soldier identified as Private Elphick and 2 other comrades. Both John's great nieces and their families were all there to pay their last respects.
I felt immensely excited and overawed by the whole thing.
We knew from the moment it was going to be a military burial that we could put total trust in the British Army to do something that would honour these, not only John, but all the other men too.
More than a year after the funeral, Jenny and Janet are still learning more about their great-uncle. Today they're in the very room where he enlisted, an idealistic young volunteer eager to do his best for his country.
And he would have been here, would have been surrounded by witnesses, he would have come in, and this here is the original admissions book. And there, of course, there we are, March the 1st, 1909, J.H. Pritchard with his address there, in his own handwriting,
Yes.
which makes it so special.
Absolutely. To know that he touched that and he would have had to have leaned on it and written in it.
In this room.
In this room.
In this
just,
room.
You feel a presence almost. It's just quite amazing.
John Pritchard's surviving relatives have Sue and her team to thank for providing a proper funeral. But even when the fallen can't be identified, they always ensure they're given an official burial. In August this year, 2 unknown soldiers from the Second World War were both laid to rest with dignity. They won't be the last.
It's a privilege and an honour, and it's a job that, you know, is unique and very special. It's important that they are given a proper burial. If they're named, it's marvellous, but if they are unknown, it's important that they have a final resting place.